Welcome to the Simply Verified Beef podcast. I'm your co-host, Bree Patterson from the west coast of BC, and
I'm Amy Higgins, and I am working with the eastern provinces, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Island on the east coast.
So today you've got both co-hosts together, which isn't totally normal. We often do it separate with different guests, but today we thought we would talk about the different incentive programs or things you should be aware of when you are VBP Plus and CRSB certified within the program.
So just a little reminder, if you want to hear about how to get certified, you can go all the way back to our episode 1, which was about the process of getting an audit. So we're going to run today with the presumption that you've sort of gone through that process and all of the good things and benefits that you can take advantage of after that fact.
Totally. So I think some producers might be aware that in different provinces, there may be different opportunities to maximize and leverage either your verified beef training and or your full certification. But today we're talking about those who are fully certified.
Absolutely. So the one big news that came out last week that we've already had lots of questions about is that new program from Farm Credit Canada.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting to see because I know lots of producers across Canada obviously utilize FCC or Farm Credit Canada because they are, I think, the largest ag lender in the country, but don't quote me on that. So with FCC, this is where you're going to want to touch base and chat with your FCC lender or your local FCC office because it'll be customized to you and your particular loan. But it's so awesome to see an organization like FCC supporting sustainable beef producers. So as long as you are certified in the Verified Beef Production Plus program, which makes you also CRSB or Canadian Roundtable for Sustainable Beef certified, then you would be eligible for this incentive program through FCC.
Yeah, and like Bree mentioned, we don't know exactly what it looks like. We know what the max out level is, which is, I think, $2,000. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe that's correct.
But there was just a press release. We will post it in the show notes with some of the specifics. We don't have a lot of the specifics because it will vary, like Bree said. Talk to your local Farm Credit Canada representative because we at VBP don't really have the ins and outs of how they're calculating that incentive. But it is very exciting because lots of people do have that connection with FCC.
Totally. I know I emailed a few VBP producers that I know are FCC loan users and let them know. And I think they were quite excited to see that. And I think it's also going to be a great incentive for those who were maybe on the fence about becoming verified beef certified. Maybe it was cost prohibitive based on how they manage their finances, or they just didn't have all their records finished quite yet. But I think this will be another push for the Verified Beef Production Plus program, which is great to see because nationwide, it's not a provincial initiative. It's not a region-specific initiative. It's from coast to coast.
All right. And the next one that we wanted to chat about was going way back. So this is the most recent announcement. So we'll go back a few years now to when Cargill established their pilot project for sustainable beef. And that pilot project has now turned into a permanent program with Cargill, as well as being offered in the Guelph plant, as opposed to just the one plant in Alberta providing that program. So Bree, do you want to give the rundown on the ins and outs of that?
You betcha. So with this particular supply chain program, you start off at a verified beef cow-calf operation and you take your little calves and you send them to the next portion of the supply chain. So probably your background feedlot, or maybe you're going to a combination feedlot that is backgrounding and finishing. But those guys got to be certified as well in the Verified Beef Production Plus program. And then those little calves, once they're fat and happy, will make their way to either Guelph or High River Cargill. If per se your animals leave that supply chain, so they go your certified cow-calf operation and they go to a certified backgrounder, but then the backgrounder doesn't sell it to a finishing feedlot that's in the verified beef supply chain, unfortunately, you become ineligible and null for the program. I have a cute little graphic I use when I do a presentation, either in person or a webinar, that kind of helps to display it. But basically, you just think about the steak going down the conveyor belts, and as long as it stays on that conveyor belt, you will end up with a financial incentive in your pocket.
Right.
Which I think is about between $18 and $20 per head. Again, please don't keep this as gold because it is fluctuating with the market, from my understanding.
Yeah. And again, this is another one. We as VBP coordinators have zero influence over these programs. And we also have to be a little bit careful with how we're defining that train because it is a Cargill program. However, if you've got any questions, certainly the Cargill representatives will be able to answer any of those questions that you've got, your cattle buyer or whatnot. And that said, it's just been a really good program because it was the first around to support those dollars flowing back into the producers.
Totally. And I think, if I remember correctly, there's still a live website. If you just Googled Canadian Beef Acceleration Pilot Program, you should be able to find it. I think it might have been cbsapilot.ca or .com. Should have all these websites memorized, but a quick search. And if you can't find it, just let your provincial coordinator know, and they can definitely hook you up with the right contacts and the right emails or websites.
And we will be able to put that website in the show notes.
Good point, Amy. Those show notes are really handy when you are doing high-level podcasting and want people to dig a little bit deeper. So I guess another reminder when we think about, we've talked about FCC and we've talked about Cargill, but there's other provincial or regional specific opportunities that may allow you to see a financial increase or help manage your operation. So I'm going to talk about an example in BC. We have the On-Farm Food Safety Program that is administered through a different organization than the Verified Beef team here in BC. However, having taken the Verified Beef training and certification is a way to help leverage access to the on-farm food safety. By no means do you need to be Verified Beef certified for that program, but that's an example where being certified definitely is an extra leverage, because as the provincial coordinator, it's my job to sign off on these types of things. And so when I've known you've gone through the program, you've done your training, you've been certified, I feel very confident saying, yes, you are eligible for this funding. But again, it is open to all beef producers. So this one is not certified specific, like we'd mentioned we were originally going to just talk about, but that's something for you as a producer to dig into either your provincial, regional, or however you have your area that you live in organized, to see if there are programs that are also eligible for certified operations or those in the process of being certified.
And over in Saskatchewan, the Assurance System Producer Program provides beef cattle producers with a rebate for things like veterinarian assessments, the audit process even, and approved eligible equipment expenses that improve biosecurity and animal welfare practices. So there's a list of criteria. It is in the show notes. But trained personnel or training stream, so if you've completed the VBP Plus training, there is one tier, and then if you've been certified, there is another tier. So again, this doesn't necessarily just apply to certified individuals, but the training can get you there as well. So just wanted to mention that. I'm not super familiar with the program, but I'm sure that our VBP coordinators in Saskatchewan can give you all the information that you need.
Great. And out east here, we've got our smaller Atlantic Beef Products packing plant on Prince Edward Island. And they have also been, for a very long time, supporting the VBP feedlots or anyone who is VBP certified who direct markets into their operation. And they've got a little bit of an incentive program to those. The way that doesn't map like the Cargill program is that they don't have that full chain of custody back to the producers. So they are a CRSB audited plant, but they aren't marketing a CRSB product per se. But still, it's really positive that way, because they just have supported from day one the concept of VBP and are paying those few cents a pound on eligible carcasses back through to the producers who are bringing it to them. Other examples might include, like, I know that JBS has gone through the certification. They just announced that a little while ago. So no word on what that supply chain sort of looks like. I guess the other thing that we can touch on is, how does Cargill know when the animal has made its way back through the happy train? Again, this isn't something that we're very involved with, but just as coordinators, we wanted to let you know that BICS is one of the pathways where you can sign up for free, put all of the CCIA tag numbers and verifications into BICS, and then that number will, in theory, follow the calf all the way through that conveyor belt that Bree mentioned earlier. So if it checks all the balances once it goes into the plant, then that'll likely be able to, I guess, engage a payment. The BICS is one part, but the Cargill had just announced a partnership with CLTS, so the Canadian Livestock Traceability System, which many use to age verify anyway. So instead of adding another system into your scope of work, it will just be done through CLTS. So both of those systems, if you're putting it in one place or the other, then the chain of custody. And that's one thing to mention when we talk about any of these programs. Chain of custody is a tricky business, and they've got to, on their end, be able to prove that that animal has gone through VBP operations. So that's why the chain of custody, you might think that it's a little bit of a pain or extra paperwork or whatever the case is, but that is really what makes the payments trigger, and that's what makes that end use product be able to be marketed with that CRSB label. An opportunity that's not a direct incentive back, but if you're selling at a farmer's market or direct marketing or doing some of those small scale marketing opportunities, we in the Maritimes, because we don't have some of that chain of custody that's gotten back to us quite yet, a lot of the folks who we do have that are on our VBP certification list are marketing direct to consumer, and they've also got vegetable production, or they're also going into a farmer's market or whatever the case may be. And it's not like they're getting extra cents per pound on that verification, but it just shows that they've got a responsible third-party certifier that, generally speaking, the public may not know, but they do understand what those certification standards are. Even if they don't know the specific standards, they know that there's a standard and you've achieved it, and you're not just sort of selling black market beef out of the back of an unrefrigerated half-ton.
Just shady beef sales.
shady beef.
But yeah, no, I think Amy nailed it there. Like, you can use things like farmers markets or farm gate sales or direct farm market or farm to table or whatever topic or term we use nowadays to help leverage the verified beef, or vice versa. Like, I know I tell producers that if they go to farmers markets, I'm like, just crank up the price and tell the consumer the cow was coddled and given kisses and hugs, because it's part of the verified beef program, and the consumer will eat that up. Obviously, depending on what part of the country you're in, some will eat it up faster than others. Not to say that people in BC are unfamiliar with beef cattle, but when you're targeting a demographic in Vancouver who are very, very removed from agriculture, you can leverage things like verified beef at events such as farmers markets. And it's impressive what the consumer is willing to pay for animals, like Amy said, that are certified, even if they don't understand the certification or the third-party audit portion of it. Just the fact that you can say that I am certified in an organization or in a quality assurance program allows the consumer to feel really confident with the beef you're producing.
Yeah, indeed. And also, if you are doing some direct marketing, there is a little direct marketers package. I believe that's on verifiedbeef.ca. We'll have that in the show notes, but there's a little package that lets you know what types of things you can say logo wise, what types of claims that you can make, because it is a little bit of a tricky thing, because everything is from a VBP plus certified operation. These individual animals are not necessarily certified sustainable, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense, Amy.
Here's mud.
But I think, like you said, we have really cool resources on our national website. So if you don't have a personal connection to your coordinator, although all the coordinators are friendly, lovely people and would happily chat with you, but if you want to just kind of tiptoe over to the Verified Beef website, so that's verifiedbeef.ca, and check out all the resources. There's so much great resources there, links and stuff like that to all the different coordinators. And then you can just mosey on to your coordinator, and from there, they will happily get you all certified.
Excellent. Well, this actually, for just being a quick snippet of a podcast, I think, Bree, we killed some time here. And
I think we did. I think we now have a podcast for this coming month.
Excellent. So in summary, I guess if you've got any questions about some of these programs, like I said, FCC, reach out. The best person to talk to the FCC program about is your local Farm Credit Canada individual. If you take a look on their website, I'll have that in the show notes as well. You can type in your region. It'll spit you out who the best person to talk to is. For the Cargill supply chain, we will have that website also in the show notes. Again, Cargill and those cattle buyers are likely the best people to chat with about the specifics on that program. Same thing with BICS and CLTS. We'll put those links in the show notes so that you can take a look around there. And as always, we'll have the verifiedbeef.ca website there too, so you can take a look around and see what you can see.
Totally. Well, thank you, Amy. That was a great little roundtable and a good refresher on the different ways we can leverage verified beef to add some incentive to our pocket and convince the consumer they just need to eat verified beef animals. So until next time, we'd like to thank our sponsors again, since without them, we couldn't have this fabulous show for you guys to tune into.
So thank you to the Canadian Agricultural Partnership through New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Island. See you next month.
Catch you guys later.